They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis. But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it.
The culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stop looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right. And now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing. And I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon Musk.
It all began with a live broadcast to millions. Picture being just 16 or 17 years old, traveling from your hometown to a national conservative youth summit. You're energized, hopeful, surrounded by peers who share your values. Then, out of nowhere, The View paints your gathering with the ugliest brush. Sunny Hostin, perched in her studio chair, casually implies your event might be tied to neo-Nazis. Suddenly, your name, your face, your entire future is linked to hate because someone on daytime TV felt like being careless with the facts.
Gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever.
Kirk wasn't about to let that slide. This wasn't a throwaway comment to ignore. This was an attack on 5,000 students, broadcast live. Their values, their families, their dignity were dragged through the mud without any proof. When Turning Point USA asked for an apology, The View didn't respond with decency. It took legal threats to even get a reaction. Think about that. How bad does a show have to be that it takes a lawsuit just to own up to? Defamation. What kind of host smears teenagers on national television and keeps her job?
The final point I'll say is this, is Sunny, you guys thought that abortion was going to be this like quasi-zealot religious issue. I'm pro-life. If people in the audience aren't, that's fine. What I'm saying though, what gives me promise, and I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more.
Quick pause before we keep going. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you powerful stories like this. Now back to it. Charlie wasn't just defending himself. He was standing up for every student smeared by the media. He made it clear, you can't just defame kids and walk away unchallenged. But Sunny wasn't done. After the uproar, she came right back on air and doubled down. This time, she turned her fire on voters, specifically white women without college degrees. She blamed them for Trump's election, implying they were too uneducated to vote properly. It was elitism, plain and simple, like not going to college meant you didn't count.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies infection.
Keeps America running. It's not celebrities or talk show hosts. It's truckers, tradespeople, nurses, farmers, entrepreneurs, the backbone of the country. Millions of hardworking people who didn't need a diploma to build a life. Yet Sunny Hostin sat there, looking down on them as if they were beneath her. It wasn't just ignorant, it was revealing. A glimpse into how out-of-touch media elites view those outside their coastal bubbles like intelligence can only come from a classroom.
And the nerve of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you, look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sunny?
Yeah, and again, by the way, rarely do you get the answer to a question in the question. And her whole question is exactly why there was a rebellion against them.
Yes.
Listen, just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. I always differentiate between knowledge and wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. I mean, it's or about North African lesbian poetry. Okay, that's fine, I guess.
And Charlie Kirk wasn't going to let that go unchallenged. As soon as Sunny's elitism slipped out, he called it what it was and brought receipts, armed with real data. Charlie showed how Latino and Black men are increasingly leaning conservative because they're tired of being told how to think by wealthy elites sipping overpriced lattes in Manhattan. He exposed the absurdity, multimillionaire TV hosts preaching to working-class families about struggle while living lives those families can't even imagine. It wasn't just tone-deaf, it was laughably hypocritical.
The episode of you when you were on The View, when you were running for president, you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. And then you actually started winning in the polls. And then the machine started working towards you.
That red hat that says "Make America Great Again," might as well just put a sticker on the hat.
When Charlie spoke, he didn't need to shout or insult. He let the truth do the damage. He drew the line between real Americans, people who labor, raise kids, and pay taxes, and the media elite who live in bubbles, insulated from reality. Sunny Hostin became the face of that bubble, a woman with fame and fortune, yet so disconnected from those she claims to speak for. Charlie showed that the real issue wasn't just her comments, it was the media culture she represented, a culture that talks down to the public while pretending to stand with them.
Talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this, and as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it, but we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last.
And the best part, he didn't even have to name her. That's how sharp the blow was. He asked the question no one else dared. How can someone who's benefited so much from this country still look down on the very people who built it? Charlie wasn't taking personal shots, he was targeting the corrupt, condescending system behind her. A system where being on TV means you get to preach without consequence. But he didn't stop there. While the media clung to abortion as the only issue that matters, Charlie reminded everyone of the bigger picture. Voters care about jobs, schools, borders, and inflation.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View.
Charlie Kirk didn't mince words when he called out how media outlets, especially The View, try to box every issue into black and white narratives. If you're not pro-choice, you're painted as a villain. But that strategy flopped. Voters didn't fall for it. They looked beyond the emotional bait and saw a bigger picture. And that terrified people like Sunny Hostin. Because once Americans stop being emotionally manipulated, the media loses its grip, and that's exactly what was happening. Charlie highlighted how the press ignored Turning Point Student Summit, not because it lacked substance, but because it didn't fit the script. They didn't want to admit 5,000 young people spent their own money to travel across the country to hear conservative ideas during the most expensive summer on record. That kind of commitment crushed the lazy stereotypes the media clings to, rather than engage honestly. The View resorted to smears because the last thing they want is their audience hearing the truth and reconsidering what they believe. And for elites like Sunny, that's the real threat.
You get people thinking, like, if you could stop Hitler by any means necessary, wouldn't you stop Hitler? And so they equate Donald Trump with Hitler and go, here you go, this is our modern Hitler. Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it, because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said
on television.
While Charlie was slicing through elite narratives with facts and calm precision, someone else was warming up to deliver a completely different kind of blow. Not with stats or spreadsheets, but with unfiltered ridicule. Enter Joe Rogan. No set, no teleprompter, just a mic and a functioning brain. Joe didn't need to name Sunny Hostin, he targeted the entire culture she embodies. Talk shows pretending to be journalism when they're really just therapy sessions. For rich people cosplaying as the oppressed. With his usual bluntness, Joe pointed out the hypocrisy. The same host who once laughed and hugged Trump on air now claim he's a threat to democracy. When he wasn't a threat, he was their buddy. The moment he got serious, the media flipped. Suddenly he was Hitler 2.0. And while Sunny and her co-hosts spiral over hashtags and identity buzzwords, Joe's busy having real conversations with real people, veterans, parents, scientist folks who don't need an applause sign to validate what they.
The View has to be, if you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin.
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
The contrast couldn't be sharper. On one side, curated outrage and moral soundbites delivered to a clapping echo chamber. On the other, open dialogue, curiosity, and the guts to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Joe never dragged Sunny by name. He didn't have to. His takedown landed like a Molotov cocktail in a perfume boutique. And Sunny was standing in the middle. His mockery wasn't polished or planned, it was worse for her. It was authentic. He exposed the contrived seriousness of the View, all glam and lighting, but no substance. Joe compared it to a group therapy session for women who can't handle being wrong. While Sunny talks about oppression from a Manhattan studio, Joe listens to people who've actually lived through it: soldiers, single moms, immigrants. Then came the kill shot. How can someone who lives in luxury still play the victim? Joe didn't shout. He didn't debate. He mocked. And it hit harder than any monologue. Because once mockery makes more sense than policy, the system's broken. The internet knew it too. It blew up. Clips of Charlie's calm dissection and Joe's sarcastic flamethrower swept across TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. This wasn't just commentary, it was a meme war. Debate clubs were replaying Charlie's takedown as a masterclass. TikTokers performed Joe's rants like tragic comedies. Reddit threads called it a cultural reckoning. The View wasn't trending for anything noble, it was trending because Sunny had become a punchline. And it wasn't petty. No one attacked her looks or her voice, they went after the core of what she represents. The smug, overproduced persona collapsed in real time. People started asking, why does she speak for working moms and real women? The answer, she doesn't. She just plays that role on daytime TV. Meanwhile, The View, once a respected show, now looked like a parody. A circle of millionaire hosts applauding themselves for recycled opinions. Outside the studio bubble, people were watching and laughing. This wasn't cancel culture. This was clarity. No screaming, no drama. Just two men, thousands of miles apart, exposing a broken machine. And what made it beautiful was how different Charlie and Joe are. Charlie in a crisp suit, armed with data and voter trends. Joe in a hoodie, armed with street sense and a mic. Charlie methodically dismantled the narrative. Joe laughed at how absurd it was. Together, without ever coordinating, they exposed the media's glitter-covered echo chamber. The fake activism, the high-paid outrage. They didn't just call out Sunny, they revealed the hollow system she thrives in. And the most damning part, she said nothing. She kept showing up like nothing happened. Same coffee cup, same smug tone, but the internet had already decided. Her silence said it all, because when facts and laughter collide, there's no comeback. The memes kept resurfacing. Every time someone defended her, the clips rolled again. Kirk's surgical dismantling, Joe's "are you serious?" tone. The illusion was shattered. Sunny's TV persona couldn't survive real scrutiny. What she sold as the voice of the people now sounded like a bad impression. This wasn't just a loss. It was exposure. Quiet, complete, and irreversible.